It must have been offensive to the potato when the phrase couch potato was introduced. Nobody wants to be known as lazy. It all started with Tom Lacino, just an ordinary guy who called up his best friend on the phone, and his friend's girlfriend answered, and Tom casually asked, "Hey, is the couch potato home?" The girlfriend glared into the living room, and there was Tom's friend lying on the couch watching TV. And that was pretty much the whole idea around the couch potato comic strip that took off and made a lot of people a lot of money. And you know, it wasn't the first time that Potato lost out on royalties. The multi-million-dollar toy company Hasbro introduced Mr. Potato Head in 1952 and Mrs. Potato Head in 1953. And when the Toy Story movie launched, the product sales skyrocketed. Sadly, no royalties went to the potato then, and neither when the children's rhyme came out, 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4. As a BYU Idaho student, I have a responsibility to explore the life of the potato since the university does reside in the potato state. It was striking to learn that the potato has endured somewhat rejection and negativity. However, it did play a pivotal role during famines, and it provided healing amongst the Latter-day Saints in the Netherlands and Germany following the war. The world has not reviled the potato as it should. And this is why I believe the potato has a case for lost royalties, mistreatment, and certainly prejudice. Even before the lost royalties, potato has not been appreciated, and there's been a bias against this vegetable for years. Frederick the Great of Prussia did see the potential to help feed his nation with potatoes, but he did realize that they could be produced cheaply, but he faced a challenge, and the challenge was overcoming his people's prejudice. For when he ordered them to plant potatoes in 1774 to avoid famine, his subjects announced, "The things that neither smell nor taste, not even dogs eat them. So what use are they to us?" Frederick decided to use a little bit of reverse psychology. He planted a crop of potatoes in his royal field, but he placed guards around his crops. And his silly peasants thought anything worth guarding must be worth stealing. So they snuck into his field, stole his crops, and planted them in their own gardens. So Frederick essentially got what he wanted. But the lasting effects of rejection continued while even religious groups mocked the potato. European historians state that there was a fear of potatoes, for they came from a faraway continent in the Andes, an uncivilized and unchristian folk. Aside from its somewhat ugly appearance, they said that the potato had a bitter taste. Worst of all, because it was never mentioned in the Bible, it must be of the devil. Northern Ireland and Scotland refused to plant the potato. The Catholic and Irish were somewhat open, but they sprinkled their seedlings with holy water and planted them only on Good Friday. At the same time, potato was disgusting farmers. European literary herbalists began writing claims that there were therapeutic benefits to the potato, for they enhanced sexual desire. They promoted fertility and longevity. They cured tuberculosis and diarrhea. At least somebody cared. But still, into the 19th century, the nickname Spud appeared. And this stood for the Society for the Prevention of an Unwholesome Diet, featuring, you guessed it, the potato. Even though there is nothing unwholesome about a diet of potatoes, except for if you lather them in butter and sour cream and bacon bits, nutritionally, the potato supplies complex carbohydrates, some protein, vitamin C, potassium, fiber. It's rich in iron and magnesium and supplies most vital nutrients other than vitamin A and vitamin D. So even though the potato was planted and helped European countries fight starvation, it was later blamed for killing over a million people when it developed a disease called blight. All of the potato crops were wiped out, and it forced many to immigrate to Canada and the US. So the potato arrived in the colonies in 1621 and eventually traveled to Idaho, where this state began to plant in 1836. The life of the potato worsened in America, for it was chopped into strips and thrown into boiling oil. It was shameful when companies such as McCain and McDonald's traded the full-figured body for an anorexic physique. History has shown the potato to be competent, to be conforming and remarkable. I gained a greater appreciation for the potato when I found a humbling story in LDS.org entitled The Dutch Potato Project. In this story, the German and the Netherlands saints were changed in a spiritual and emotional healing way, all because they planted potatoes. The devastating effects of war included famine, and the spirituality of the saints in both areas suffered greatly, and the Dutch LDS members started to plant potatoes together, which of course helped them with the food supply, but it also built a trust amongst the people that had been lost while some cooperated with the Germans during the war, and this left others with angry feelings towards them. And while regional leaders were meeting in the Netherlands and Germany, the Dutch leaders learned that the German saints were worse off, and they suggested that they could help. When they took their idea back to the membership, the members were very upset, for they learned that their next crop would be sent to the Germans. They decided to do as their leaders had asked. They were obedient, and the potatoes were harvested and sent to the German saints. A change did take place in both groups. The Germans were overwhelmed and began healing from the guilt they felt. This was a gesture of forgiveness. The Dutch saints were blessed for their obedience, and they began to put away their feelings of anger towards the Germans who caused them such pain. The potato over time has been rejected through frown and fear. It has remained victorious. Even though it hasn't become royalty rich, it has preserved human life. It's been noble and fully cooperating for the needs of others. I feel that we must honor and respect the potato by refraining from using slang words such as no small potatoes or you're such a potato head. We must change our ways and give the potato the dignity that it certainly deserves.